Hello everyone and welcome to another banner review, and we will be splitting the Secret of Mana event into two different banners because they're two different banners and otherwise this video is going to be far too long. So we're not going to talk about the 4 stars or the 3-star base units. Instead we are only going to spend time talking about the 5-star base units because really we are now living in a 5-star base 7-star max meta, where basically that's kind of the direction it seems to be going, because the difference in power level between the 6-star max and the 7-star max is so substantial at this point that it's hard not to just say we're there. So today we're going to be talking about Hawkeye, Riez, and Kevin. And we're going to start with Kevin first because Kevin is quite frankly the easy one to talk about because, well, let's just get right into it. First of all, in his 6-star kit, he was nothing really that special. He had some interesting different kinds of attacks as well as giving himself boosts and doing some AoE attacks. But really, in the grand scale thing, Kevin definitely came and went very quickly. Well, now his 7-star kit is a little bit different. New attack moves include a couple of AoE attacks, one that is a 200% ignoring 50% defense, which, okay. A single target 750% physical attack and 80% confuse, okay. 52 MP 10-hit single target attack that's 700% physical attack and gains 3 to 4 limit burst crystals per turn. Alright. He also has a cooldown ability that gives himself, well, it's a 2-turn cooldown that's available on turn 1. So you can keep this guy basically using this most of the time. But for 2 turns he gains 250% attack as well as a debuff of 50% defense for 2 turns. So he buffs himself, but he makes himself more vulnerable. That's a little bit scary. He also fills his limit burst gauge 11 crystals and enables one ability for use for turn. Now, that one ability, just going to double check, sorry, reading off database because Reddit hasn't quite updated yet, is a 8-hit 750% physical attack, ignoring 50% defense. 8 hits, kind of a weird thing. It's fine. I mean, that's a really high attack passive. We'll get to the grand thing about what I think about Kevin in a minute. Now, in his 7-star for equipping Beast Heart, which is in his TMR, basically gives 30% attack when equipped with a fist, 30% attack when equipped with clothes. Nice to know he's wearing clothes, but basically it's essentially like Tifa's. Fine. That's fine. Tifa's was fine, so this one's fine too. But also from equipping that TMR, he gets 30% to defense, HP, MP, and 40% attack when dual wielding, 50% attack when two-handing, and enhances his limit burst to an AoE 1-hit 1290% physical attack, decreasing AoE dark resistance by 100% for 3 turns, and gives himself 150% attack for 3 turns, with no downside. Cool. Pretty much with a 7-star, you always want their TMR equipped, so this seems fine. But also in his kit, he gets an extra 30% to attack, defense, spirit, and a self 120% boost every turn, basically meaning that he always has 120% attack boost. You cannot dispel it. Interesting. The way it's worded is kind of confusing, but fine. He also gives himself 1.3 times limit burst damage. Okay. 20% extra attack and 30% attack with 120% modifier on a couple of things and some dark resistance. Now, Kevin's limit burst 1.3 times, it doesn't have any defense ignoring and it's only AoE, so really... Okay, let's cut to the chase with Kevin. Let's cut to the chase with him. which is let's talk about Kevin's biggest competition, which is essentially Tifa. Tifa can imbue herself with water and debuff water in the same way that, well, if you have Kevin's super TMR, then you can debuff for darkness and you'll have darkness on him. I like Tifa's a little bit better because it's more flexible. Tifa also has better chaining options than Kevin does. And the other thing that I really makes the big difference is Tifa can dual wield naturally. So, yeah, in my opinion, Kevin really not that special. And Kevin's 250% buff comes with a 50% defense debuff, where Tifa doesn't have that problem. So, yeah, skip Kevin. Hard hit, skip Kevin. As for Kevin's super TMR, well, 172 attack, Dark Element Fist. I'd rather just have Preesh or Tifa's super TMR, which is non-elemental, since Tifa can give herself an element anyway. So, yeah, moving on. Next up is Riez, and Riez definitely became interesting. Or Lisa. Anyway, now in her 6-star kit, she was the most likely to end up being used because she could debuff and she could buff the party, and then CG Nickel came along and ruined everything. Now, Lisa's crown, as her TMR, is a helmet with 52 defense, 40 spirit, 15% HP, and 15% MP. Honestly, it's a really good, nice TMR that probably is more useful for a tank than her, so hey, you got that at least. Now, her Super Trust Mastery ended up being quite different from what I thought. Basically an 80% attack, 20% defense, magic, and spirit when equipped with a spear. Anyway. Honestly, I don't think it's that great for Lise. This could be quite big for a Dragoon in the future. CG Win Veritas one time. 80% attack is a big boost for any spear user, including herself. But let's be honest, guys, when we're talking about Super Trust Mastery, unless you're a whale, unless you're willing to spend just a fortune of money, don't bother. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway. So what makes Lise so interesting in her 7-star kit? Well, for abilities, she gains a 12-hit, 600% physical attack that fills the summon gauge for 3 Esper Crystals. Ooh, does that 12-hit just happen to have the same frames as Sephiroth? I don't know, but if it does... Very nice. She has a chaining partner, and she can fill the summon gauge. Very nice combo, indeed. And Sephiroth, one of the supposed strongest dual-wield users. I haven't been able to build mine quite yet, but I really think that that potentially could be a good pairing if Lise had a ton of attack. We'll talk about it in a minute. She also has a jump ability where she will 2-hit for 500% at a physical attack and single target 1-hit 500% 1-hit physical attack. I'm not quite sure how this works. It seems like it's a 2-hit ability that is somewhat of a jump, but might not be. It might just have a jump icon. I've never tried Lise, so I'm not entirely sure. But the big thing are her cooldown abilities. Everything else is just window dressing when it comes to Lise, because honestly, I don't know how much you'll be able to push her attack stat, even with her Super TMR. But her first cooldown ability is at 140 MP is a 2000 HP barrier for 3 turns to your party, 150% to all stats, attack, defense, magic, and spirit for 3 turns, fill the summon gauge for 4 crystals, and this is a 4-turn cooldown ability. So, okay, that's amazing. That's a really great ability. That seems like a better buff, but wait. Are we going to get baited by a limited time unit? And is something better just around the corner? feels a little risky, especially considering that Ria's is on a 3 rainbow banner. Anyway. Now, in her 120 MP ability, that is her second cooldown, she has an AoE 70% debuff for attack, defense, magic, and spirit for 3 turns, and 100% debuff to light and darkness for 3 turns. Now, that's a 4-turn cooldown, available turn 1. Basically, Lee's got essentially an amazing debuff and an amazing buff on her cooldown abilities. Now, I really like it, but I gotta be careful. Again, limited time units. If you get stuck with one, you're kinda just screwed, to put it nicely. Now, passive abilities. In her kit, she had some extra MP recovery. She has Gleipnir, which is a 75% chance to reduce being targeted, which is nice. She was poison and confuse resistant. And yeah, she had some really nice abilities, but her stats and passives weren't super good. Thankfully, with her regular TMR, she gets an extra 30% attack, magic, spirit, and 100% when two-handing a weapon. That's right, she's a true dual-hand unit now. So that could potentially boost her attack power considerably. It also enhances her limit burst to a AoE 11 hit, 1340% physical attack that debuffs all elements for 3 turns of 60% and enables her an ability once per turn, which just so happens to be her AoE 2000 HP barrier, 150% to all stats for 3 turns, and fill the summon gauge for 4 Esper crystals. Basically, her limit burst allows her to use her boost ability. Well, now Lise just became up there. She's actually up there with CG Nickel and Ignis in terms of being a top tier buffer. With one tiny itsy bitsy problem. You need to charge her limit burst. Now, I don't know exactly how many. Well, hold on. Let's just take a quick look, because Reddit should know. Reddit just hasn't updated even a little bit. I was hoping that they would have right in the middle, but give me 2 seconds, because I just need to know. Her limit burst was only 20 crystals before, so it could be possible that you could just keep using her limit burst, then alternating between that and that, debuffing elements for 60% for turns. Riz is actually really, really good, but also she gets 20% extra attack, magic, and spirit, plus 40% to wind resistance and 100% to petrify resistance. Okay, 20% to MP. 30% extra to attack and defense when equipped with a spear, and 300% modifier to Flayer, 400% modifier to Lami and Naga, so basically increasing some of her big damage attacks, and 40% extra increase to summon damage, which, really it puts her, I believe, at about 70%, and that's nowhere near to compete with the other summoners. So if you were going to do summon damage, it's a nice extra bit of summon damage, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference. If you're just doing summons, just bring a summoner. But in general, Lise turned out, well, let's hold on till the very end before we get too excited. And the last is Hawkeye, that guy. Now, Hawkeye, first of all, his Trust Mastery was 105, 70 magic, dagger with 20% MP and a high tide boost. His Super Trust Mastery is Supreme Whale Bait. 30% to attack and magic, and 20% extra to attack and magic when dual wielding. 50%! Super Whales! I really want to see you build the best hybrid unit you can. I'm not even going near that, though. That is amazing whale bait. Now, Hawkeye has a ton of abilities that debuff elements and our hybrid attacks of all kinds of elements and different attacks. But we're not focusing on that. We're really just worried more about his 7-star kit. Now, his 7-star, he gains a 450% 3-hit attack that debuffs attack and magic for 5 turns of 50%, and 70% chance to poison, silence, disease. Who cares, honestly? As status effects just aren't really that big a deal unless you're in arena, and even then, they're not that big of a deal most times. He does... Oh, would you look at that? The music ran out and I was trying to be quick. He does also gain a single target, 8-hit, 100% physical attack with 100% extra damage each time he uses it, so for a max of 6, so it's okay. 8 hits, again, is really weird. I need to see the frame data and who, if anyone, he can chain with, which probably no one. Anyway. It is an interesting damage stacking, especially because this guy will be dual wielding, but I'm going to classify it as meh till I get more information. Now, next up is his big one. Now, this is a cooldown ability, 3-turn cooldown, available turn 4, meaning that you can't start a battle with this, and that's the biggest problem with this, is a single target, 1-hit, 1500% physical attack, debuffing attack, defense, magic, and spirit on a single target for 74%. That's really, really big, and it's on par with CG Lid, which CG Lid doesn't do 1500% damage, but don't get too excited. I'll explain in a minute. He also has an AoE 1600% hybrid attack with a 1-turn cooldown, available turn 2. So he can basically use this quite regularly. The question is, how good can you build him? And so, speaking of building him, let's talk about this guy. Now, he does have natural dual wield in his kit, which is really nice. Poison and blind resistance before we even get to 7-star, and dagger mastery, which gives an extra 50% attack and makes him that much more difficult to balance. Because you have to remember, if you are putting more effort into building him, like if he's just naturally better at attack, that means you have to put more focus into magic. You want to balance that stat, and most times, magic is going to be more important in the hybrid formula because you want most enemies have a lower spirit stat. Not always, but mostly. For equipping his Deathstroke, which is his TMR, which honestly is a pretty good weapon for him. It's not Randy's weapon, we'll get to that eventually. 30% attack, 30% magic, 20% HP, 20% MP, enhance the limit burst to a 10 hit 600 physical attack, 600% physical attack that ignores 50% defense. So 1200%, 60% to make him poisoned, blind, or confused. But the big thing is 79% debuff to all stats, single target for 2 turns. He basically got CG Lid's breaking abilities, which is good because otherwise Hawkeye was pretty worthless before. He also has an extra 30% attack and magic when dual wielding, so equipping his TMR definitely beneficial. You have to get this guy's TMR, otherwise don't bother. He also gives himself 30% to attack and magic with a 20% chance to counter either physical or magic attacks with 100% light and darkness debuff for 1 turn. Ooh, nice. I mean, if the counter happens regularly, it's only 20%, but 20% is not bad. 20% extra to magic in his kit, and his last ability, 30% to attack and magic when equipped with a dagger, 400% modifier to multiple of his attacks, 200% modifier, and he fills 2 limit burst crystals per turn. Okay. So that's all 3 of these guys. So what do I think? First of all, Kevin, no, absolutely not. Getting this guy is a bit, like, it is a strong possibility off the 10-step banner. And while it's not to say that he's bad, because really there's no bad 7-star except for Delita, honestly, this is the guy I just do not want to get. Tifa, all the way, much better, skip. Riez, awesome, but again, she's on a 3 rainbow banner, and is she really that much better than CG Nickel? Probably not. CG Nickel is just better because, honestly, you want your buffer to be surviving, not jumping, not doing damage. You just really want to focus on support a lot of the time. That being said, Riez has an amazing break in her kit, as well as an amazing buff, and she can access that buff from just getting her limit burst. Now, at this point of this recording, I don't know how much her limit burst costs, but if it's 20 crystals, good enough. Riez, incredibly valuable. Very happy with her. Next up is Hawkeye. Now, honestly, here's the thing. If you have CG Lid, don't go for this guy. No, because CG Lid is already what this guy can do, but more survivability, because this guy focuses more really on attacking magic. The extra damage is nice, though. So if you got Riez or Hawkeye, you can feel pretty damn good. But really, at a 6-star, neither of these units are particularly good, and their 7-star is really where they come alive. And here's the big question. On a limited time unit, are we just going to see something better next month? Keep in mind, when it comes to buffers, we know Aerith is sometime, possibly in nearer future than we think. Is she going to be a better buffer? Is Water Veritas CG form going to be a better buffer? We just don't know yet. Next up, when it comes to this guy, I really want to believe that there's going to be a new hybrid attacker in the CG units, but really, CG Lid already does what this guy does already. So if you have CG Lid, there's no point in going for him. And so, in general, what do I think of this banner? Well, the 10 step-ups guaranteed rainbow at the end sounds very, very nice. But there is still a possibility that you get nothing in terms of other rainbows. It does happen. Getting stuck with a 6-star of any of these units, unless you're a fan of these units, no thank you. So on a split 3-way banner, I don't feel like it is good enough odds. But if you're a fan of these units, you'll probably want to try for them anyway, so I wish you best of luck. But in general, some of them turned out to be much better than I thought. Some of them turned out to just be, well, Kevin. So that's all for this banner review. I hope it has helped you make a decision about whether you want to go for these guys or not. Next video, we will be talking about the other banner. And dear God, do I not want to talk about this one. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video.